Next, you want to dry fit your project together. Start by putting the inner parts in, the web frames. Make sure that they fit flush with the front. Next, put on the inner partition if you have one. Once that part is together, clamp it lightly. You only need enough pressure to hold them together. Next, put on the bottom and make sure every groove lines up and fits correctly. This is the only chance you're going to get to fix it before you glue it together. Attach the other side and then clamp all of that unit together as well. Put in the top and lightly clamp that in. And then your last step is to make sure that the bottom width from left to right matches exactly the top width left to right. Take the time now to sand your project. It's a lot easier to sand now than after it's assembled. This is rough sanding, not final sanding. You're getting the bad marks from machines and the wide belt sander. Go ahead and do both sides. To do the holes for the adjustable shelves, if you have any, come to this machine and line up the top of your side with one of the pins sticking out. Drill all the way down as far as the machine will go. Then you need to line up that plunger with the lowest hole to complete drilling your holes all the way to the base. Don't worry if they go all the way down past your dado. It won't matter, they'll never be seen. Flip your side around and do the other side, again referencing from the top. Then simply repeat this for the other side. Now we're going to assemble your project the same way you put it together when you were dry fitting. This time glue every dado that the web frames go in. Be as careful as you can to line up the fronts. The better you can line up the front edge of your web frames with the front edge of your sides and partitions, the better your face frame will go on. Tack each piece in as you go. It's very difficult to line all of the frames up at the same time, but if you put one in at a time and then nail them, it makes it a lot easier. Repeat the same for the side, but remember, do not nail through your panel, just through the stiles. Then finish nailing each of your pieces so that they don't move. Now glue every area that your base goes into and fit that into position and nail it in. Next, glue the other side, put it into place, and nail it into position. Last, do the top, the whole time making sure that all of your pieces are flush with the front of your project. Along the top edge, go ahead and nail through the whole rail, and then nail straight down through the top into your center partition. For bigger projects, you may have to put on a few clamps to hold it till the glue dries.
When you're ready to cut out the back, here's how you get the measurements. Take a tape measure, and you remember that on the inside of the back side we have these rabbets so that the back will actually sit down into your project. You don't want to see the back from the outside edge. So you simply put your tape measure on the inside of that rabbet to the inside of the other side. So we put it right there to there and you get a measurement. So I get a little over 47 and an eighth. Now the other way, instead of going all the way down to the floor, I always have it up off the floor flush with the bottom shelf. flush with the bottom edge of the bottom shelf. So not all the way to the floor, but hook it onto that bottom shelf, and I take it all the way to the top, which is 32 3/4. I just simply draw it on somewhere on the back. It's going to be covered up anyway. That way I have it written down. I can refer to it so I can cut the right piece. The reason you want to put the back on as quickly as you can is because it adds rigidity to it. Now right now when this thing is standing upright, it tends to bow in the middle. It bends down because there's a lot of weight in the center. Putting on the back and then stapling it on will prevent that. Now it'll stay nice and square. So it keeps your project square, keeps it rigid, so now when you work on it with face frames and drawers and everything else, you know it's going to stay square. Now whether you cut the piece of 1/4 inch on the panel saw or the table saw doesn't make a bit of difference as long as it fits, and then we'll staple everywhere along every single piece. Now that you've got the back cut, we need to figure out where all the shelves are. Now the ones on the top and bottom are easy, you just shoot along the edge. But the ones in the middle, once you put the back on, you can't see them. So put a line right in the center of where each one of those are. Now the other side here, I'm going to be guessing. If you're not careful, you're going to miss. So what I did again is I hooked here, measured down to find the center, and that's 8 3/8, and I just wrote it right here. Then I measured to the next one, that's 16 3/8, and then 24 3/8. So I have something that I can measure down and shoot. This one right here, I'm just going to put a line right there, so once the back is on, I can see where to shoot down, and then I'll just measure over and shoot all the way down. The key to all this prep is so you don't miss. Once you miss, it leaves a giant hole that's almost impossible to fill perfectly. So take your back, let's put it on, and hopefully it fits in fairly tight. So what we do is we get one corner perfect. This side is perfectly flush right here. Take your stapler and just tack it in place on the corner. Then come to the opposite corner. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's not perfect. This is where you force it into place. This is square and I know it's square and I need to make it so that this follows it. So top is perfect right there. Tack it in. Now in the center, that's pretty close, but if I need to pull this way or push, get it perfect so that it's square. There we go. And then go ahead and just fill in. About every 6 inches or so. Then I'm going to go and start measuring and doing the rest of it. Now on the edges here where this rabbet is, you've only got 1/4 inch to hit. Take the gun, instead of having it flat, angle it in slightly so that I'm now angling in towards the side, and go ahead and shoot that in as well, all the way down.
Take the gun and shoot around the perimeter of your project first. This ensures that it'll stay square while you do the rest. Work from the outside in. Next, take your tape measure to make sure that you're shooting in the center of the partition or the web frames. It's better to take your time and not miss instead of having to fix a hole